Well, this is an interesting 1965 Ford F100, but why is Jason chopping a piece of metal tubing? Must have something to do with this good-looking tilt bed. Here we go. Welcome to Road Odyssey. Thank you very much for joining me. If you like the videos that I provide, please subscribe. And if you're on Rumble, please follow. Remember, I have my Facebook page. Join me there anytime you wish. Callaway Customs, north of Paris, Texas, acquired this 1965 Ford F100, and this truck was delivered by the owner to have modified and then given to his son. The modification was a custom installed tilt bed. For this particular truck, I have no history and backstory, although from sources, I saw these trucks were extremely popular, the 65 belonging to the fourth generation. That date range was 61 to 66. It's claimed that the 65 was the beginning of the modern F-Series pickup. Although this generation had a few flaws, they came with the twin I-beam independent front suspension for two-wheel drive pickups. This design split the original single I-beam into two sections, allowing each front wheel to have independent motion while keeping strength and durability of a solid axle. It boasted both ruggedness and enough luxury or accommodations for a daily driver. The engines in these trucks were originally, say, a 240 cubic inch with 150 horsepower, maybe 300 cubic inch with 170 horsepower, or a 352 cubic inch with 208 horsepower. Although Scott had to make some tough decisions about this project of installing a tilt bed by Smoky Road Rod Shop, with all the ramifications weighing heavily over him, with his son Jason at his side and Alex always around to help, as a team they tackled the job like champs, actually relying heavily on the craziness of Jason. Jason being the primary lead in making the custom subframe for the tilt bed, of which the show quality bedding kit was to be installed on. Here is the bed prior to any fabrication. I believe that the width of the portion of the bed that would tilt was based on providing access not just to the tank filler cap, but also to the pump and sending unit. Here's a closer look at the Smoky Road Rod Shop flooring kit. Boards have a wood grain design digitally printed on commercial grade floor laminate and applied to extruded aluminum boards. They include the hidden bolt center strips and stainless hardware. Pricing of these kits can currently range from about $1,200 to $1,900, plus the hinge kit that you will see later is about $400 at this time. Check out their website and you will see some fantastic examples in their photo gallery. Like the artist that they have to be when bringing projects like this to life, they first measured out and constructed the two side bed subframes first. Here they're adding the short posts, which allow for clearances of screws, hinges, etc. Then designing the midsection, taking time and a lot of patience for good measurements of size, clearances, and how the flooring would interlock between the midsection and the two outer side sections. This required laying in the flooring several times to check and recheck fitment. Often, they had to add pieces of metal here and there for the custom subframe to fit right, such as these that Alex worked on. This was tedious and precise work. And remember that the truck box is not a perfect rectangle. It's just not even perfectly flat. So these little pieces that they had to create and apply had to be dead on perfect. All right, back to laying down the flooring to check fitment again. Here, I've got Jason putting together the hinge kit. These hinges will attach to the center lift section of the bed. Then preparing for install into the truck took several attempts. Ultimately, the front portion of the box had to be notched. If you do this install, be aware of this possibility. It's important for them to mock the install of the hinges prior to completing the assembly of the center subframe. They made the center subframe, checking fitment several times and slowly dialing it into the best fit. Once that was done, they made the whole frame solid, set it into the truck, then began reviewing how the hinges would ultimately be installed, which meant that the truck's box frame itself needed to be notched. The notches were simply cut out with a sawzall and a grinder. Everything was placed back into the truck bed again for yet another fitment test. Hinges put into place. They were measured again and again and finally welded into place. Once that was done, Jason and Scott did the first test of using those hinges. Not gonna lie, the hinges were going to have to handle a good amount of weight just from the subframe.
Nice.
Is that okay? Cool. The sparks coming from inside the box are from Jason making adjustments to the hinges placements. Woof. Time came to lay down the flooring and double check that it still fits correctly on the subframe. And here are a few pictures of the flooring sitting almost perfectly, almost. A lot more measurements of the flooring were required relative to proper placement and in conjunction with the hinge action. The subframe was taken apart, painted, then replaced in the bed again. Then flooring installation began, along with many tests of the tilt section as they progressed. Alex cleaned up underneath so all of the screws would not be so obvious and cumbersome. Then they began the process of installing the lift strut shocks, brackets, and the shocks themselves. This included welding the brackets from underneath. Installing the hinge struts was much easier with two people. They are very strong and you are in a tight place when doing this. Once more, they did more tests and were happy with the results. Although the weight of the boards, subframe, and hardware are extremely heavy, and placement of the hinge struts is critical in tolerating all of that weight. Here's a quick look underneath just so you have another perspective of the install. With everything completely in place, it was time to finish off the end and sides. Jason trimmed the rear with a sawzall and cleaned that up. Alex made 3 plates to go across the back and welded those on, then gave a quick touch of paint. The detail trim for the rear and sides arrived, well, many days afterwards, and those were readily installed. Went on a test drive with Scott, and the truck handled very well, and no bumping sounds were heard from the truck bed. The next day, Jason took the truck for another shakedown, and it did great. This was a successful install by Callaway Customs on this wonderful 1965 F100. It looks great, works very well. And so, with that, please relax, take it easy, and I will see you later. Bye.